I guess it's about time for me to talk about where to eat for dinner, right? Yeah, after all the hype and the music and the performance and the great talks that we have along the way. It's quite interesting when first Jason come to me and say that André would like you to talk about collision. So what is collision? The act of colliding, a clash, conflicts. The meaning of a particle in which each exerts a force upon the other, causing the exchange of energy or momentum. So I guess I'm kind of a calm and mild person that doesn't really fit the idea of collision. So why André talk about collision? I guess because my parents are Taiwanese. I was born in Taiwan, and I spent half of my education here. Then I go to travel through Japan, and obviously most of my time in France. Then I travel back to Asia, to Bangkok, Tokyo, Shanghai, and then I'd end up in South Africa, then back to Singapore, and now to Taipei. So it's all that the impact on André to become André today. So when people talk about André, they always ask me, so André, so where's all that ideas, what's all that creativity come from? And they're always curious about it. And before I thought that it was just an idea, it's just an experience or an instinct or a gift from God. But after that, I realized that there's some systems in there. Where's the good creativity come from? We all here, we all creative people. We all want to know where the creativity come from. So here today, I just want to share with you that when all the ideas collide, and where comes the creativity. So how the good creativity come from is when there's a challenge, there's a problems, and we try to find solution. That's where the good creativity comes from. So since I guess it's time for dinner later, I want to talk about something that's dealing with food, of course. So cheese, chocolate grill, and sandwich. Okay, for me, a good creativity, it must have three components. First is the core, connectability, and relevance. So why these three components is so important? We're going to see a short video of how the creative process, how I create the dish from the dish, and then we start to pull it out little by little. I want you to start to have a look at it.
You know, I spend most of my time in south of France, Mediterranean. I want to create that really very classic, or you can say Mediterranean or Spanish dish. You have a charcoal grill squid with piquillos, the smoked pepper, olive oil. Very simple dish. When I was thinking the dish, what makes you remember? Is that the squid itself, or it's the combination of a squid and the piquillos, or what is it? It's that smokiness, it's that burning edge that makes the whole dish to life. Nothing can be replaced with that burning flavor from the charcoal. So what about if I want to have an ultimate dish that I just eat the charcoal? And that's where I start to really work on it. Then we make fried charcoal dough. So we serve the burning charcoal with the fried charcoal dough. And then we serve a piquillos dip with charcoal squid. In fact, the squid or the piquillos in the dish, they were just accessories in a way. We designed that in the middle of the menu. So, you know, sometimes when you see a normal menu, You started small, and then the portion gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. For a long menu, sometimes halfway through you feel it's getting heavy. You're getting tired. If halfway we can have a break, or we can have something fun, that kind of lighten you up, freshen up a little bit, and we restart again. Every night we have a guest finish very late. Most of the time they finish at 11, 11:30, 12, or even later sometimes. I just feel that I want to serve something like breakfast and then say, hey guys, you gotta go. It's breakfast time. Kaya toast is the breakfast in Singapore. It's white toast, grilled white toast, and then you have kaya, which is a coconut and pandan. Then you have one slice of cold salted butter inside, and that's it. And that's kaya toast. Well, at the end of the meal, you serve coffee, of course, and then so if coffee served with the kaya toast, and that's kind of an ending or a beginning, but yet I don't want to serve a kaya toast like anywhere else. I still want to keep my French background. I start to make the white toast look like macaron. We do exactly the same way. We grill it, make our own kaya, and then you must have one icy cold salted butter inside. If you eat it with your eye open, it's kind of macaron. Yeah, but if you eat it with your eye closed, and then it's exactly the same kaya toast.
So, I guess put me at this slot is for a purpose, right? So I want to talk about that, where every dish come from, and the process of creating a dish. For me, that's the perfect triangle, when every time there's a good creativity, whether it's a furniture or whether it's a car or a design, graphics, you always refer back to the core, the relevance, and the connectability. What is that about? What is the core, the relevance, and connectability? What is the main idea? What's the main idea? What's the purpose? What are you trying to say? And the relevance, is that subject important to your audience? Or is it relevant to where we are today and in 2015? Connectability. Connectability is that whether it's something that I can refer to my own story, or why some love songs is always work, because that connects me to my memories. So I want to quickly start it by the chord. The chord is the ability to gather information. What does that mean? Obviously, we all need to know what, why, and how. I want to make an example. Started from a few years ago, I made my first dessert called the camembert. Some of you might know, and some of you might not. So the idea of doing the camembert dessert is when I come back to Asia, I then realize that not everybody appreciates the cheese course after the main course, especially in Asia. So a lot of Asian guests that come to the restaurant, they kind of force themselves to enjoy the cheese course, but some of them just don't. And also realize that that's probably the only course in the whole menu that it doesn't produce in-house. So why are we serving it? Yeah? But that's kind of a French tradition that after the main course, you have a cheese course. So I'm kind of imbalanced in the situation. So before we start to create a dish or any design, we go back to first talk about, okay, what is the cheese about? Yeah? What's the history? Why we're doing it? Second, why do people enjoy cheese? And then, how can I create my own cheese? I'm not saying that I'm making my own cheese, because it has to be something that is relevant. So I create a dessert that looks like cheese. So for those who cannot take cheese or doesn't appreciate that much, they can have something else, while the rest of them enjoy having the cheese. Yeah? At the same time, everybody had a good time. Second of all, we still respect the sequence of being a French restaurant or a French tradition sequence. Second, relevance. Okay, relevance is what I said. What you want to say and what people want to listen, or whether they are interested in it. Sometimes we make a design and then we're looking at it and we're like, oh, wow, this is so cool. You know, this is going to work. But how does that relevant to the audience? An idea doesn't come from nowhere. Yeah. First thing that I hope these three components that you can apply to any creative person or any of you in your personal life or things that you're passionate in. First, when we create an idea or a concept, first is knowing why we create it, the meaning of doing it. Second, presentation at the right timing. The third is each creation must have its own character. What does that mean? If you're looking at a bigger picture, now we're not talking about one dish, but talking about maybe 10 dishes together. In a menu, almost like 2.5 hours, it's just like the movie. So how do we pace it at the beginning that we want people to start to get interested in it? Yeah? And every 7 minutes, that you have something that excites them. You have a scene, you have a picture, you have a color, or something that they can chew on. That's why we create the charcoal dish at the middle of the menu. What is that for? Because in the halfway, you start to feel tired, or you're bored, or you're distracted. So can we have something that change the sequence? That not every course is knife and fork, and knife and fork, knife and fork. How to pace itself differently in the halfway. So you change the pattern of eating. Suddenly we use hand, and suddenly we need to use our eyes, or you use our ears. That creates a whole interesting process throughout the 2.5 hours, just like a movie. And every character is there for a reason. Whether it's every course, or it's a server, or each ingredient are there for a reason. At the end of the meal, people walk out having a kaya toast, and they go back home with a smile. Or each character, just like the movie, you can not only have good guys. Sometimes you need to have bad guys, and you have interesting guys. So present it at the right timing, and they must have its own character. That's when I talk about creating a menu. What is the message? And why does it appear in a certain sequence? Not just because that dish is cool, that design is cool, because you need to present it in the right way, in the right timing, and with that, trigger your mind. So I guess from one dish or from one menu that we do, behind it, there's a lot of thought for me, a lot of way to create the beautiful things. The third I want to talk about is connectability, sharing the creativity. What it means, there's a two-part for connectability. One is emotionally fulfill their needs. Second, functionally setting up the scene. It probably sounds quite abstract. Actually, it's pretty straightforward. When the guests walked in, the first thing is we need to identify what's their purpose. What are they coming here for? Same thing as your own design. You're thinking about why you're creating this dish for, or creating this object for your clients. They might not come to the restaurant for your food. They might come to the restaurant because of the atmosphere, or because they're dating someone, or because birthday party, or they just come simply for the food. So identify their agenda and fulfill their needs. emotionally. Functionally is once we identify that, how do we set up the scene for it? So meaning that everyone coming with a different agenda and how to fill their agenda. That's how we're trying to do. So here we try to put the perspective even further to the whole dining experience, or it could be a journey, or it could be anything that you are creating. First is, what's the agenda? What is the occasion of they come in here? Second, of why Restaurant André? What does that mean? Is that before you're going to a place, what is the expectation? Oh, I heard that they have very good food, or it's a very cozy place, or because of any other things. So the expectation and their agendas might be different. So we have to make sure that we meet their agenda, meets what their expectation is, and how can I create a unique moment. So we create each separate experience to every single guest. Some guests, they need a quiet corner. Some guests, they are here to see the show. Some guests, they are here because they are looking at each other. I remember one time we do a dessert because we know that the two couples were dating. The couple are dating. So we purposely serve one dessert with one spoon to share. So, well, yeah, they end up having, share the spoons and then share the dessert together. And funny thing, you look at the other table and you're saying that, why we didn't have that? So for me, that's very important to create something that first we know why we're doing it. Second is to know that when to serve it and what's the purpose of it. And it has to be relevant. It has to be relevant. And the third, whether your design is connected to the people. This is a summary of a good creativity, how the three elements collide together to become a good creativity. The core, gather the right information. The relevance, knowing why we created, the meaning of doing it, serving at the right time, and give each person or each object an individual character. The connectability, whether functional and emotional. So I guess I'm a chef, but I don't want to talk about just how to cook a dish and how to cook a great chicken. There's a lot of creativity behind it, and this is, I think, you can apply it to any of a creative work that you are doing. So today, I hope I share something that you can serve for the past few years. Lastly, I want to say, creativity is a line that reaches both the past and the future. It's not something that's come from nowhere. And it connects you and the others. Thank you very much. I'm André. Thank you.